Ba, 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 ba. Here's Johnny. Thank you, Ed. Well, hello there, social media family. Being of any subscribers and or visitors alike of any persons among yourselves who are supposed to be affiliated or associated with and are representing my own particular YouTube social media channel and a likewise chat room or comment section. How are you all doing? Well, hopefully everyone is doing at least okay, if not better yet to be said, whereas any of you could possibly say and or state for the record that you all are all right. There's supposed to be a difference, give or take. Or if not best of all, whereas any of your persons, you and yours, your family, friends, and me and mine for that matter, could possibly claim to have become a bit of a status, whereas you can express a line of thought of a nature being of this here, whereas you could claim to have become a bit of a status to say that you feel blessed and stressed, more blessed and stressed, or too blessed to possibly become or be stressed. You and yours, family, friends, and me and mine. And moving right on. But then I apologize. I'm sorry I'm looking like I could possibly be a member of Jay-Z's family. You know what I'm saying? Be between lines and blanks with my hair being rather unkempt at the moment. Quite a bit. Oh, excuse me. But then lately I have been feeling quite up under the weather. As you all know, or at least some, if not all of you, or all of your persons all together. I think I had explained that at least during one of a few of my last social media broadcasts and videos. And when you get older, you just have to remember to take much better care of yourselves, or we must remember to try to take much better care of ourselves. Because when you be up in age, your physical body, for believers and unbelievers alike, just don't work the way it used to. And it takes much longer to, try to get better, to get well, Oh, excuse me. Again, please. Oh my God. Where's some tissue? Hold that thought while I try to find some. I have some here somewhere. Oh my God. It's in one of these jacket pockets. Oh God. Yeah, pray for me. Anybody being of whom is a member of the household of faith or the family of God as I myself am. Or being of the few among us. Not counting those closet devil worshippers, like who make up most churchgoers, a majority of them, or whatever I have said. Yeah, speaking correct, proper standard English grammar of our own adopted native tongue, as we have an American dialect with all its grammatical uses, equality and quantities of vocabulary, or not. Yeah, speaking of King's English of street slang. Whereas most churchgoers, as you know, are closet devil worshippers, being of whatever religious denominations, from the pools to the pulpits, with the prosperity preacher man, televangelists, who outnumber their female religious rival counterparts among them, fleecing the flocks, bleeding Hopefully I didn't show any male circlers. I have to make sure that I don't, because I have more than enough my share of stalkers as well as crank callers. Anyway, though, getting back to what I was trying to say for the last mention is backtrack here with reason purposes being, so I can go on forward to continue from when my person had last left off, so I can finish up as incomplete form previous reply line thought. Then to practically or possibly sound like President Elmer Fudd or Not So Sleepy Joe. He's only sleepy when he wants to avoid prosecution coming from the DOJ that he uses as his own, secret SS Gestapo police against any of his political rivals. Then where was that before I do this? My train of thought, so to speak. This, yeah. I guess I did, but then God works in mysterious ways. Yeah. Anyway, though, I was saying something about the prosperity preachers who outnumber their female religious rival counterparts. Yeah, that is including the prosperity preacher men who outnumber their religious rival counterparts, their female religious rival counterparts, fleecing the flocks, bleeding, bank accounts dry, sending more than quite a few members of and visitors to their mega church of religious cults, to the dog house, pool house, rescue mission shelter, crazy house, as well as jailhouse. Yes. Anyway, Tom, I've been feeling quite up under the weather, So pray for me, any of you who are of the few among us of the household of faith, not counting those closet devil worshippers, otherwise who make up most churchgoers, whatever religious denominations. Yes. Or in other words, what few among us being the family God, Because I've been really feeling like, oh wow. And I've been listening out on God's word, that is the reading of it, meditate therein. Then hopefully God will continue to work in mysterious ways. Not that I'm doubting the power of God. I'm just saying for the sake of argument and then something. Yeah. And moving right along. I guess that was pretty much what I was trying to say as an icebreaker or opener. Before I were to get to the, in addition to how I had made an inquiry as to your own general welfare, so far as the salutational greeting that is supposed to be a part of the basic introduction, and in addition to how I put out there the footnotes, pretty much so saying the same thing. And now I'm moving right along to get to the original subject matter, a topic of discussion to be debated of a given argument with many different views and opinions to be affiliated, associated with, and representing some of such thereof. I take it that some, if not all of you, well, I will hope that more than quite a few of you have been checking out. That is to use a better choice of words. Let me rephrase that. Been viewing and listening to the latest, most recent current events so far as that being of news stories is concerned, and whereas there's supposed to be good and bad in all races of people's person. You have these fool Israelis and Palestinians, regardless of whatever countries or nations, and at sports events, I mean, they are going at one another, and they are not considering the serious consequences of their actions, not only in this world, but in the next, And people in damn hell want ice water. Just think how they are grieving God and his angels and causing the devil and his demons to laugh. And I pity the fool that exits this world and don't have the blood sacrifice of salvation of our Lord and Savior Jesus the Christ, Yeshua, Yahweh, Jehovah, or as he is mainly mostly known as Jesus, JSUS. And I don't care what Oprah Winfrey or anybody else says, Otherwise, then because all roads do not lead to the kingdom of heaven and through the pearly gates thereof. You can believe that lie if you want, and you will be in for a rude awakening. Anyway, though, so you have these Israelis or Jewish or whatever I said. My white Jewish peeps and folks to be compared unto my Palestinian peeps and folks. Well, we're all one race, believe it or not. We all come from the same couple, Adam and Eve. We're all out of the human species. So they're going at one another, I mean, they are violently assaulting or attacking one another in the extreme physical sense of the word, and causing all kinds of police and military, militia of whatever country or nation that they go at one another like so, It's ridiculous. And like say, for example, the city of Paris, France is supposed to be making preparations just in case all damn hell break loose, to restore order or to prevent, a major fiasco, mayhem, or chaos developing. Well, that's not exactly what I meant to say, but then it's not the half of what I meant to say either. But that's one way of putting it. I mean, imagine that. I mean, I was watching the news just sometime most recently, and I see this white Israeli Jewish guy getting the crap beat out of him by a couple of few Palestinian fellas or dudes otherwise, I mean, I'm talking about being pushed down, punched, beating the crap out of him, beaten, beaten with with marks on him to be like purple blotches, I mean, like beaten practically and or possibly to a bloody pulp, blood oozing from his nose and his mouth, Police intervene, pushing the different opposing parties aside from one another, I mean, it's crazy. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's ridiculous. Then let me show you all something. Just remind me of one of my most recent You can post TikTok videos. Then why do you want to go there? You know, really now. I can see this name all over my fucking page, and I'm about to get it. Hold up, that's not it. This. We can see that there's a way to sing it right up to the man, but the ways thereof are the ways of death. The fool has said in his heart that there is not any God. It's appointed unto men to die, but after this the judgment. There is only one way to become a citizen of the kingdom of heaven and to escape the fiery flames, the lake of fire, a damn hell that burns with fire and brimstone. Although I'm so Israel, and that is anti to getting the only salvation. I'm pro-Israel. I didn't say pro-Jewish. The only fire insurance against the lake of fire, damn hell. And the only means to escape pro-Israel and to gain anti-Islamic Muslim jihadists, you know. Not that all Islamic Muslims are jihadists. The fool has said in his heart that there is not. I mean, they're good and bad and all this to keep us safe. It's appointed unto men to die, but after this, judgment. Therefore, if any of the likes for both races or nationalities of peoples, the white, Jewish, and you know, white Jewish, and you know, the white Jewish. I saw somebody say ABC. And or AB. Palestinians alike take matters into their own hand and you know, and go out of control, you know, by proving themselves to be just some such airheads, you know, bonehead buttheads, practically if not possibly brain dead or brainless, then you should pay the severe, serious consequences for your actions, you know. Hold on, that just reminded me of something. Check this out. Now, Billy is nobody's spec. He's kind of a turd who works odd jobs here and there. He's a caregiver, he's a maintenance worker. But one day, something changes in Billy, and he snaps, and he decides he wants to make his money in a different way. And Billy knows a lot about elderly people, because he's worked in a lot of care facilities and retirement communities as a caregiver or as a maintenance person. And Billy knows that these old people often have jewelry and family heirlooms just lying around. So he comes up with a plan to target some retirement communities and loot some of these places to make a few bucks. Also, he's going to murder some people. Now, his plan works like this. He's going to go to a retirement community and scope out a resident who he thinks might be a good target, likely a woman. Then he'll pretend to be a maintenance worker and he'll knock on their door and ask them if they need any work done. And when they let him inside, bam, that's when he'll overpower them and he'll smother them with a pillow until they're unalived. Then he'll rob them of their jewelry and he'll put their body back on the bed to make it look like the person just passed away from old age. It's a crazy plan. So then Billy, he goes to a nearby retirement community and he knocks on someone's door. And this woman opens it. She's 87. And then, boom, Billy overpowers her and suffocates her with a pillow. And then he steals a bunch of her jewelry and valuables. And he goes to a pawn shop and he pawns
jail, he just continues his plan. He goes to a different retirement community and he starts unaliving people there. He unalives an 82-year-old woman. He unalives another 82-year-old woman, an 83-year-old woman, an 86-year-old woman, an 89-year-old woman. And of course, afterwards, he's taking all their shit and he's pawning it. Then, the week after that last murder, he comes back and bam, he unalives an 87-year-old woman. Then, the week after that, he unalives a 92-year-old. And here's the thing, no one is held responsible for these murders because no one is reporting them as murders. Because these are elderly women, so when their bodies are discovered, people just assume that they died in their sleep of natural causes. And from what I read, if you suffocate someone with a pillow, their death appears as if they had a heart attack. I guess the signs end up looking the same. And unfortunately, when someone of that age, an older age, dies, they don't typically do a full autopsy on them. So this allows Billy to get away with murder over and over again. It's really sad. This whole video is sad. Anyway, then, about 2 weeks after that last murder, at that same retirement community, someone notices him. And they approach him and they're like, hey, what are you doing here? And Billy's like, oh, I'm a maintenance guy. I'm here to work on some pipes. And they ultimately let him leave. But he's starting to realize that people around there are getting suspicious of him. So, what does he do? He chills for a while. But then, about a year later, he just moves on to the next retirement community to start all over again. And at this new place, he unalives a woman. I don't know her age. But 2 weeks after that, he unalives another woman, a 90-year-old woman. But then, 6 weeks later, Billy finally slips up. He knocks on the door of this 93-year-old woman's apartment. And I don't know her
The
name.
narrator, I think his name is Ray Johnson, William, something like that.
Billy goes through his normal routine. He tells her he's the maintenance guy, and he asks her if she needs any maintenance work done. And Gertrude's like, nah. But then, before she can close the door, kaboom, Billy busts in and he knocks her to the ground. And he grabs a pillow and he covers her face with it until she runs out of air. Then he grabs her jewelry box and he just flees the scene. Here's the thing, though. When Billy was smothering Gertrude with that pillow, she knew she wasn't strong enough to overpower him. So she just stopped moving and she starts playing dead. So Gertrude is still alive. And after Billy takes her jewelry box and leaves, she crawls over to her emergency alert button. She presses it and she alerts the police. And so police come over and unfortunately she really isn't able to give them enough details about him for them to identify the suspect. So unfortunately, Billy gets away with it again. Until this string of murders continues, and Billy targets another retirement community, and he unalives an 84-year-old woman, and then he unalives a 79-year-old woman, and then a 93-year-old woman, and an 81-year-old woman. Then he targets some other places and some other women in their own homes. A 90-year-old woman, an 81-year-old woman, a 75-year-old woman, an 88-year-old woman. And he just keeps going, unaliving more elderly women and pawning their stuff. And he seems to be making quite a bit of money off this. But then he screws up again. One day, Billy knocks on the door of this woman's apartment. Her name's Mary. And Mary answers the door, and suddenly, kaboom, Billy forces his way in, and he yells at her, lie down! And she's scared, so she does. And Billy, he grabs a pillow, and gets on top of her, and he starts suffocating her. And Mary, she passes out. She's unconscious. But once she stops moving, Billy thinks she's dead. So he grabs her jewelry box, and he flees the scene. Sometime later, a friend stops by to see Mary, and she sees that Mary's lying on the floor, not moving. So she calls 911, and paramedics show up, and they revive her. And when Mary eventually reports all this to the police, she is able to give them a description of Billy. And they're able to link him to his car, which about a month before had been seen near one of the murder scenes. So now, kapow, police have a suspect. But they're not quite quick enough, because the day after Billy had attacked Mary, he goes out looking for his next victim. And unfortunately, he finds her in a local Walmart. A little 80-year-old woman named Loki. Loki is at this Walmart, and Billy approaches her, and I guess they interact, and that is the last time anyone sees her. And it is presumed that he followed her home that day, because later that day, Billy goes to her apartment, and he unalives her too, and he takes her jewelry box. But that same day, since Billy is a suspect, police have taking all the valuables out of it because he ends up throwing that box in the dumpster. And when we see him throwing that box in the dumpster, and bam, they go and they arrest him. Starts his mugshot. And they end up bringing that jewelry box out of the dumpster, and inside it, they find a piece of paper with a Lottie's name on it. So police go over to Lottie's apartment about 10 miles away, and there, inside the place, they find her, unfortunately, unalive. And so police start to connect all the dots with Mary's case, and they start looking into hundreds of deaths in the area to see if maybe Billy had been responsible. And it's hard for police to ultimately know exactly how many elderly people really went alive, because again, so many deaths of people that age were initially thought to be from natural causes. Regardless, they ultimately charge Billy with unaliving 18 people, and he ends up getting life in prison. But then, after that, at some point, while he's in prison, his cellmate stabs him and he dies. So this guy, his name's Billy. And
Yeah, so anyway though, you all don't do the crime and you won't do the time. I mean, these Israeli and Palestinian protesters, well, hopefully not all of them are like that, just going for broke, attacking, assaulting one another, you know, viciously, brutally
now Billy is nobody's favorite.
attacking
He's kind of a turd.
one another like so. I mean, like the song says from a vintage classic pop culture cops and robbers television show production. Don't do the crime and you won't do the time. Because if you murder or kill somebody, then more than likely, more often than not, if it's not a matter of self-defense, you're going to be sporting an orange jumpsuit, with a ball and chain to accompany, leg shackles and iron or steel bracelets as in a pair of handcuffs, and you will be put in front of a judge, you know, judge, jury, and prosecutor, and they will decide your fate unless you just wave off a jury and let a judge decide your case by himself with attorneys or lawyers present, the prosecutor and counsel for the defense. But eventually you will be charged and convicted if it's not a matter of self-defense, and more than likely, more often than not, usually the case 9 times out of 10, unless I'm mistaken, because I used to be a paralegal student, believe it or not, before I had become subjected to experiencing, a double standard racial profiling, whereas my civil and human rights were violated, as I had a conflict of interest with another student of another male of the same sex, and then because he was of a different race, they took his side over mine, though he was the one at fault for the mishap, not me. He told a lie against my person compared to how I was telling the fact of the matter, truth about him, And I got stuck with thousands of dollars of old school debt. I'm still having to see about taking care of necessary business at hand to get that issue resolved. Then for it to become quite a problem, dilemma, furthermore, to hurt my wallet, because I have paid off on it before, quite a bit. But anyway, getting back to the original subject matter topic discussion to be debated, I was just saying, for the sake of argument, well, at least I didn't lose my train of thought in that regard. Only reason why I mentioned about me being a paralegal, yeah, God works in a mysterious way. I guess whatever I forgot much earlier was not important. Then sometimes some could be so much uh, causing a person trauma, that God will block it out, the memory, for a while before he would have resurfaced. Like similar to a sexual assault or rape victim. I wonder if this present main neighbor from down here, a local drug pusher, could have done something to me after trespassing my premises properties while I'm here and without my knowledge and without my permission. But it's bad enough if he would do that. When I'm gone from the building, from my place of residence of Ewan's Avenue apartment, to try to take care of some necessary business matter that is legit as in legal for my own personal survival, than to think that he could, and was I suspect he could be the main root cause of me lately having made a hospital like a second home away from home. And I've been to quite a few different hospitals too. Some I frequent more than others. But anyway, getting back to some and such other, vice versa. Not to mean not to mean to sound. It seems like I'm wagging the dog as a change or something. So if you were to go before a judge, jury, and prosecutor, or however it is to be gone about to litigate your legal case, unless it's a matter of self-defense, for you having viciously or brutally, physically, and extremely violently assaulted or attacked another person, unless it's a matter of self-defense, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be tried, convicted, that you're going to be charged, tried, and convicted, is what I meant to say. And regardless of whether or not you're eligible for parole, is that what I mean to say? No, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be taken down for the count. Like life without possibility of parole. If I do remember correctly, as a former ex-paralegal student, then I yet to get back with my legal studies in due time. If all's well that ends well, once I were to get that resolved, so far the issue of my supposed so-called delinquent student debt, whereas I should not have to pay one red Abraham Lincoln cent for. Yeah. So don't do anything I wouldn't do. If you see it, if you are of the company of protesters, be they Israeli or Palestinian, and you witnessed their personality and our psyche is taking a turn for the worse, then it is up to you, if you could possibly, to plant a seed of thought to change their mind. But don't you become an accessory to the crime, to one who's coming off as an aggressor. It's like if a a thief were to attempt to rob a bank, and he has a getaway driver, and somebody gets killed upon the premises properties, that place of business, during the commencement of a robbery. You know, if I do remember correctly, it don't matter if you were just a getaway driver. You're going to do time. You're going to do some serious time, and depending on who the judge, jury, and prosecutor that you go before, 9 times out of 10, it'll be like just as if you pull the trigger and you can get life without possibility of parole. So these protesters are stupid and sick, both Israeli and Palestinian. you know, I don't know what they are thinking, It's like, their brains have gone out to lunch. I don't know, maybe they are some such severe or serious chronic alcoholics, or worse yet, habitual drug addicts. I don't know. If I only had a brain, we're off to see the wizard, the wonderful. Gee, Mr. Wizard, I need a brain. I'm about to go among my fellow protesters and do something stupid or sick. I'm all caught up in emotions. I can't see the real enemy being any Jewish Zionists or Islamic Muslim jihadists provoking subordinates or using others at their beck and call to do what they are so cowardly and creepy to avoid getting their hands soaked in blood. So help me, Mr. Wizard. I need a brain. If I only had a brain before I wind up in front of a judge and prosecutor as Orange is New Black. If I only had a brain, boop, 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 boop. We're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. Wait, though, on this last note in interest, I would like to say, if you have not gotten Christ as your personal Lord and Savior, I hope that you would think to do so now, while the blood is still running warm in your veins, by recognizing and realizing what He Himself had done or did upon the cross of Calvary and the hill of Golgotha, suffering at the hands of Roman soldiers upon the orders of their superiors, religious, political, militaristic, especially the Pharisees and Sadducees. But nevertheless, He went to that cross of Calvary so that you don't have to end in the lake of fire down hell, but so that you could become a citizen of the kingdom of heaven yourselves. You all take care and be safe. We're out. Peace.